dockyards and surrounding waters out of everyday dullness into a sudden fever of excitement and motion. The towns of Plymouth and Dock swarmed with sailors, with the massive drays of enriched victuallers, with marines, red-coated and red-faced. Herds of moaning bullocks blocked up the lanes, stalling wagons from the ordnance board. And all about and underfoot campaigned delighted boys, waving wooden swords and firing imaginary muskets, as the frenetic commerce of war spilled out of the offices of the Navy Board and into the noisome streets. "There she is, sir, the Admiral's flagship," the midshipman offered, with no trace of irony. Hayden turned to gain a view of the Hamos and the 80-gun guard ship, Cambridge, from which the Port Admiral executed the duties of his office. It seemed a strange affectation that a Port Admiral must have a ship and not an office in a building ashore. Certainly he had a rather elegant residence supplied by the Admiralty. The affectation was not carried so far as to cause him actual discomfort. Hayden had for some time been contemplating the meaning of his summons, but tried to put this worrisome activity to rest. All would be revealed in the fullness of time, and worry would change nothing. The cutter was laid expertly alongside the ship, and Hayden went nimbly up the ladder. He ignored the lowering of his mood and the anxiety that told him his ill-fated career was about to receive another blow. The First Secretary of the Navy had given him his commission and the little ship sloop Kent. Certainly no Port Admiral could take these away. The boatswain piped him aboard, and a line of marines presented arms sharply, a ritual they must have performed 50 times a day, given the constant traffic in captains and even admirals visiting the ship. Lowly masters and commanders such as Hayden were most likely seen with less frequency. Several turns about the deck were necessary while Hayden awaited his audience. He was not the only officer present, but the captains and flag officers were all strangers to him, and they did no more than bob heads in his direction, hardly interrupting their hushed conversations. Hayden felt more an outsider than usual, and that was saying a great deal. A guard ship was not quite a vessel in ordinary, but a ship with spars standing and crewed to partial muster. Guard ships were maintained in this state to provide the Admiralty with a reserve of vessels that could be readied for sea in mere days if there were a sudden need. The Cambridge, however, was not about to go to sea any time in the near future, for she neared the end of her days. Receiving hulk would comprise the next stage of her natural life, and then the shipbreaker. His Majesty's ships were rather like phoenixes, Hayden knew, rising from the ashes, for though the Admiralty might discard a ship, it almost never abandoned an aim. There would certainly be another Cambridge within a few years of this particular ship's demise. "Captain Hayden?" Hayden turned to find a pink-cheeked marine corporal touching his hat. "Yes." "The Admiral sends his respects and requests the honour of your company." A moment later, Hayden was let into the Admiral's outer cabin by the marine sentry and met by a guarded secretary. No words were offered in greeting, only a quick leg, the man constantly glancing backwards towards the door which led to the Admiral's day cabin. From beyond the door, the muffled thump of heavy footsteps sounded, paused, and then immediately resumed, traversing larboard to starboard. The secretary beckoned Hayden, then hastened almost silently towards the inner door, hesitated, knocked, and when no answer was forthcoming, steeled himself visibly and applied knuckle to wood with greater force. "Come in, damn it! Have I gone deaf now as well?" The secretary opened the door to let Hayden in, and then, exposing only his arm to the glaring Admiral within, pulled the door quickly but silently closed. Moments such as these Hayden found most difficult. He was not about to appear intimidated, yet to defy such an officer's mood would do nothing to further his cause, as he well knew. But Hayden was simply not given to servility. Admiral Roland Cotton stood glowering after his secretary a moment, and then turned his pinched and darkened countenance upon Hayden, who attempted to appear utterly neutral. "You do realize that my predecessor died of apoplexy," the Admiral stated. Hayden nodded. It was well known that Sir Richard Bickerton had died in a fit of frustrated rage the year previous, though in fact he was not Cotton's precise predecessor. Admiral Colby very